Hi, everybody. This is Sunday, June 30th, 2024, which is the last Sunday in the month. And as usual, this is a day for Project Save the World's Global Town Hall. And in a minute, I'm going to open the door, and there'll be hordes of people waiting to stampede in here and have a conversation. I see 4 people already in the waiting room, and there will be more. We're going to have a conversation today with people who knows where they are, pretend to be people from all over the world who show up and talk about whatever is on their minds. So I'm going to open the door now and welcome these folks in. Here we go. Open you, admit, and got 4 folks coming in. Very good. Hello, friends. Hello, I see the top of Lou Krieger's head. I don't recognize your face because it's not showing, but I would know the top of your head anywhere, Lou. Welcome. Hello, Marilyn Krieger. How are you? Nice
I
to
am
see
good.
you.
How
Yeah.
are you? I love your shirt. Actually, with the Phalaenopsis orchid in the back, it's kind of perfect what you're wearing. So the
Hello,
Phalaenopsis orchid in the back.
Meta, good morning,
Oh,
good
okay.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chan. How
Good
are you?
afternoon, fine.
Good
Good
to see
afternoon, good morning, good evening to all.
Yeah, well, it's great to see you. And now, Lou, are you
Yes,
yeah, okay.
I'm here.
I can see all of you now, your head, full head. So, okay, we got 3 folks here, and there was another guy here for a minute, but I didn't open the door fast enough, so oh, I know, he's muted. John German likes to hide. He comes in, and I think they call it lurking, when people are present, but you don't see them or hear them, and they're like ghosts or something. Hello, John. If you're with us, it would be lovely to see you. But I see you got everything muted and not even a microphone going. Anyway, it's your problem. You got to solve it yourself. So, what's new in the world? Too much.
Hello.
A little bit too much for you to handle. Oh, there's John German's photo. At least we know what you look like. We looked like when you took that photo maybe 20 years ago. I keep using photos that I made a long time ago, and people sometimes sort of, are startled when they see me really. Anyway, greetings to everybody. Yes, we have things going on in the world. I have not checked my news today, whatever, so I'm not sure what is exactly current. Lou, why don't you tell us what you know of that is happening globally?
Globally, terrible global warming, intense reactions in the environment, and willful neglect and denial among too many people, particularly in the Republican Party in my country. I mean, it is insanity and suicidal. Otherwise, it's kind of the right now at the moment in the States, people are transfixed with the Thursday debate, and quite dismayed at a candidate who should never be president, never should have been, and who cannot say a true word, and is willfully destructive of our democracy, and a good president who fumbled sadly, disturbingly, and so there's a great deal of distress in this country at the moment. And there are, among the Democrats, certainly they see two bad alternatives. And one of them, I guess, will be taken, but it's still uncertain.
Well, what's your prediction? I watched it. I don't watch very much anymore on television, but I did. So I bet you we will have a conversation about that very subject because it's haunting me. It's a terrible dilemma. And you wonder how did they get to such a state of a condition where there's no easy solution, you know? I'll be really curious to see what other people think. Katya, hello. Tell us about yourself.
And hi, it's
Hi.
good to see you all here.
Mhm.
I'm Katya Emami, a graduate of Master of Peace and Conflict from University of Waterloo, and I'm so happy to join your team.
That's wonderful. All right. I know you've been around a little bit, or you were about a year ago. So it seems
Yes,
you're back with us. That's great. And congratulations. You just graduated from your
yes, yes,
Peace and Conflict program. Is that it?
that's correct.
It's a master's program. Is that it?
Master program.
Good.
Yes.
Well, here comes Sandy Greer. Good. Okay. Do you have thoughts, Katya, on your mind? Yeah, this is an occasion for people to unburden your souls. Well, at least a little bit. I don't have spiritual credentials to cure your ailments spiritually, but I would be happy to have you all share your worries anyway. So, what issues are haunting you these days, Katya?
Well, many things is happening in the world right now, and everywhere that we just turn, we see just some horrible things happening. Middle East war, Russia and Ukraine, and what is happening in US and with the everything all around the world. But I would like to get more knowledge from your team so I can be more just focus on what can I do to help.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited to join your team, and I hope that I can find a way.
Well, this isn't really quite a team huddle. I have this image of football where these guys get together and whisper to each other about what they're going to do next. But we don't have that kind of a coordination going on here. It's mostly a place for people to air their concerns. And then of course if people sometimes they do get together offline and plot something to do, but in general it's more like an open house to talk about what we're interested in, and we find out what's on everybody's mind. And I think if I'm not mistaken, you're from, or your heritage is from Iran, is that right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
And so you are probably very concerned about, there's an election there now. You want to tell us a little about what's going on in that election? And by the way, I assume that it was a real accident, that your last president, not yours, but Iran's last president was killed in a helicopter crash recently. There's no reason to think that was any sabotage, was it?
Um, to be honest with you, because most of the people, most of the Iranian that I know, they are not happy with the government.
Mhm.
So they believe that this election is not going to change anything as long as the regime is going to stay the same as what they are. So just the election between six people who are kind of the same, they are following the same idea, doesn't make any difference for the people. So yeah, most of the people that I know, and I'm just in contact with them, that's what they believe. So yeah,
Okay.
we don't hope a lot that
All right.
anything is gonna change.
Well, there's not a lot of good mood around here either, but at any rate, I want to say hello to a newcomer I haven't met before, David Lighthouser.
Yes.
let's see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I
Okay.
can even see you right now. Let's put you on gallery view so everybody can see each other for the moment. Where's it going? View, here it is. I've changed my setup. Okay, there we go. Hello, David. Who are you?
Uh, my name is David Lighthouser. I'm in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I'm 73 years old. I'm an independent inventor. I'm very concerned about the climate. I'm surprised that I'm new because I've actually attended a number of these and even attended the big meeting in person over at Stetson University. So maybe I'm just new to this division or something. I mean,
So what university have you been involved with? Sorry, I
no,
didn't get that.
the CCL had a meeting, a big in-person meeting in a classroom at the Stetson University in DeLand, Florida.
Mhm.
And I just meant that I attended that and I've attended a number of Zoom meetings and everything. So I was surprised when you said I was a new member, right? I guess, is this, what exactly is this particular section? Is this like a Florida group or, I mean, this particular group here?
No, it's not a particular group. It's a very unparticular group. It's anybody who has a notion that they want to attend. So you've wandered into a setting where most of the people I think have met each other in the past, but there'll be people who are newcomers, as you appear to be, and you're very welcome. And all we do is talk about what's on our minds, as most of us are activists, usually peace activists and or climate activists. And one of us I see here is Sandy Greer, who's also an activist in working on Aboriginal rights and on nuclear waste disposal issues.
Okay,
So
I thought this was the Citizens Climate Lobby.
No, but you're welcome. You can make it into that if that's what you're
Okay,
not.
I'm sorry. I guess I don't know if I clicked on the wrong thing or something, whatever the case. But no, I guess I misread something. But the group I was referring to is the Citizens Climate Lobby.
Nope,
Uh,
that's not
but-
our title. But our
Oh,
title
okay.
is Project Save the World,
Oh,
and we do these monthly global town halls. But you can talk about climate because I bet you everybody here will eventually get around to talking about climate. In fact, the first thing that one of our people said, Lou Kreisberg, started talking about the climate, and that's really has to be on everybody's mind.
yeah.
So of course we're talking about it. Yes.
You talked about what's on our mind. The thing that concerns me a lot right now is the recent Supreme Court decision, which basically strips away most of the authority for groups like the EPA, the Food and Drug Administration, basically every regulatory agency in the government, and turns the power over to judges, saying that decisions like how much pollution can be in our air and water, what foods are safe, what are worker safety standards, basically building codes, everything that the government regulates has now has now said that this should be done by judges rather than by the experts.
Oh my God. Okay, I had not heard that. That is amazing. Other people comment on this, please, if you've heard about this before, because a lot of you now, Marilyn, I know you are in the U.S. And
Right.
and Chand is in India, and Katya and Sandy are in Canada. Lou is in the U.S. and John Durman, I think, is in the U.S. So we've got a distribution of people. Yes, John, do you know about this development?
Oh, it's been front page news in all the newspapers above the fold. So, because it's basically a power grab by the court system, done by the Supreme Court, based on all those the three people that Donald Trump stuffed onto the Supreme Court, and the bland excuse that that the Supreme Court can give if they feel like it, is to say, well, we're just saying that this was power that's not truly of the executive. It's up to Congress, but they know that Congress is going to take either a long time to act on anything, or the next election is going to sweep in so many Republicans that they will just steamroller through anything they feel like. And either way, that's trouble. So that is big news in the United States.
What, I'm not sure we're talking, I'm sorry, I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. I'm talking about the Supreme Court basically throwing out the Chevron doctrine. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's precisely what I'm talking about. That is exactly the news.
Yeah, okay, it just sounded a little different. I mean, basically, the Chevron doctrine, as I understand it, is a law passed by Congress that basically gives authority to experts. Sets up things like the EPA and everything, and says these are the experts. You have the authority to go ahead and make rules and enforce them. And they basically threw out the whole thing and said, no, the courts are the courts and the Congress are the only ones that can make rules. Is that what you understand it?
Yes, precisely. And so what that does as a matter of practice is right now it throws everything into a state of mass confusion as to what the rules are, and what's going to happen when the first tests wind up in the court system, which will take time. But clearly, this was a move that was designed to strip power from the executive branch of government, and so the balance of powers that's built into the Constitution has just been drastically rewritten.
Yes, of course, it's been a long-term policy of the Republicans to say they're against regulations, and they're for freedom for the companies to make all the money they want. And if people get killed in the process, they're losers. Too bad. It is the grossest grab for profit making rather than providing services and products to consumers.
And protecting the environment, I'm going to add.
Yes.
The basic effect is going to be that it just basically throws out all the government protections on everything. Like I said, the environment is particularly the thing that concerns me, but everything, the Food and Drug Administration, everything basically. It's almost like we no longer have any of these protections.
When
That's
did this
right.
happen? How long ago was this?
Like 2 days ago.
Right, very recent.
Yeah, two or 3 days ago, the decision was announced. I mean, it's one of these things where one of the things the Supreme Court has done is make all these decisions over the last few months, and they deliberately waited to announce all of these things like I don't know how many decisions was it, like 10 or 15 decisions, all within a few days, so there wouldn't be a chance for the news media and everything to really cover them. If they announce them one at a time, there'd be a public uproar. But by announcing all of these things in a few days, it's just like so fast, nobody's going to know what's going on.
Well, look, I take the New York Times on my iPad, and I usually give a few minutes anyway to it every day. And I don't think I saw that. Has that actually been on top of the news for the last few days? Because
Well,
why am I not seeing it?
well,
think
as
it's
David,
very-
as
Look in
David
the
said, these
right-hand corner of the
court
front page.
sessions are coming to conclusion, and they've got a backup of decisions to make. So there were 3 or 4 decisions to announce at the same time. And if you didn't pay a lot of attention, you would miss it.
Yeah, that was their plan. Within a few days, they're announcing something like 10 decisions, And so the news media has to decide which of these major decisions that affect all of us they should cover. And they're counting on the idea that they'll only be able to cover one or two of them, and people will therefore be uninformed about some particular decisions. And that's a rather technical sounding one. So I guess a lot of the news, they're still worried about the Trump immunity claims, and there were a couple of other, like I said, the idea was just to bury it under an avalanche of decisions so that it just couldn't be covered properly.
Okay. That explains it, because I haven't seen it. And yeah, Marilyn. Mhm.
The only reason why I knew about it, I was informed, was because of the environmental channels and room that I subscribe to, and then they were mentioning it. But I have not seen it big in the regular media, and it should be. It's major.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Look in the upper right corner, the upper right-hand corner of the front page, New York Times, over the past few days, and the column headings are about this decision, the Chevron decision.
Mm.
Yeah, and you can do a search on the internet. I mean, I happened to catch it on the Alex Wagner show, I mean, like I said, it's deliberately buried.
Now,
Well, the Wall Street-
is there any game plan? The people who are horrified by that, what are they saying should be done next? What doesn't sound like you got a lot of opportunities to reverse anything. If it's the Supreme Court,
Yeah,
you're sunk, aren't you?
right. I mean, that's the thing. The Supreme Court has basically turned into a legislative body that's just rewriting the laws. And I mean, if they say that it's unconstitutional to have agencies like the EPA or something, what can you do? Pass a law creating the EPA? They'll shoot that down right away anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what will be occurring is many lawsuits will be brought by corporations to liberate them from the regulations that overlooked the quality of their services, the safety of their products. And so there will be numerous new cases being brought up. And I suppose each time one is coming up to the lower courts, hell should break out and say, we want the government to regulate it. We want the experts who are knowledgeable to be the decision makers, not some Supreme Court who may know some law taught them when they were young people, and just make a big case out of every lower case.
Okay, Lou, now tell me, how often does something like that work? I mean, I don't think it's often that an outcry against a Supreme Court decision has any immediate impact. The only way it can have an impact is next time there's an election. Now, the decision that they made about abortion was so unpopular that it would give the Democrats a lot of mileage in this upcoming election, except they've made so many other messes that probably, clearly Biden's age now and infirmity is going to take precedence over people's concern about abortion. And you can't blame anybody, but it means that, the outcry against the Supreme Court decision on abortion will not have any impact, even though the majority of the people do not like that decision, right?
Well, this Supreme Court clearly does not care at all about public opinion or whether the public considers them legitimate or considers them biased or anything. I mean, they just make these rulings and say, nah, what are you going to do about it?
Well, the answer to that one is Congress can take action. And there's pressure on Congress now coming from various quarters, including the business sector, that wants clear rules, because the whole decision to stop Chevron deference, which has been in effect for many decades, to the benefit of stability in the regulatory environment. That's now been thrown under the bus. And so, even the business sector, is after, the members of Congress to say, look, the decision to eliminate Chevron deference, it says in the majority opinion that it's based on the fact that when Congress passes laws, there are a lot of things left unclear. That they may you may blame Congress for that, or you may say, well, it's only in practice that you find out what the real problems are, and that's when the details are to emerge. But in any case, all Congress has to do is to say, we want this to work this way, and that would at least throw sand into what the Supreme Court is doing. I don't know how that would work out ultimately, but that's an effort that's underway
Yes.
right now. Get Congress to do something.
Well, again, I haven't really had much time to go over the details, but as I understand, is it to some extent saying that instead of the regulatory agencies being able to pass, certain standards, air pollution, or whatever, that each individual regulation has to be passed by Congress and signed by the president?
That I'm sure would be something the Supreme Court would love to see happen. But if you look at Trump's plan for what happens when he takes office, he does, is what you would expect would be that he would maybe do something like what he's done with abortion and say, well, it's a matter for the states, which means throw everything down to the states where we have a lot of corrupt influence, and we can influence the outcome. So it wouldn't surprise me, if Trump would say, well, we'll just throw it to the states. Let the states regulate this. And this, I think the one ray of hope, after that announcement of the end of Chevron deference, is that the Wall Street Journal, even in the lead up to that decision, they saw this coming. And you'd think, hey, Wall Street Journal, aren't they in the lap of the Republican Party? I mean, isn't that what their leadership wants? Is whatever the Republicans want? But no, they were saying, this is going to be a problem. And the editorials after in the Wall Street Journal after the Chevron decision have been, this is a problem. We've got to do something about this because the stability that business needs is now gone.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it scares me to death to think that basically this could be the end of every safety standard. Like I said, I'm mostly concerned about the environment. That happens to be my personal concern, in particular global warming, but some other related areas and everything. And the fact that this, you can expect, of course, the oil companies to immediately start appealing the regulations, basically everybody. So I'm just terrified. I think we're sunk.
I could see an intermediate position being taken where Congress would say, look, this is impossible. We can't know everything when we pass a law. Things are going to become apparent only after it gets out into practice. But what we should have is some kind of oversight over the regulatory agencies. So we should have some kind of a review process or something, but it's got to work quickly, because otherwise business is going to go nuts, because they won't have any stable, regulatory environment in which to plan. So I could see something like, for example, the recent hearings about artificial intelligence, where they called in the tech companies and grilled them about it. I could see them doing that with the regulatory agencies and saying, look, you've passed these things, and we're hearing complaints from businesses that it's overreach and so forth. They have to defend themselves. But it wouldn't be like asking them to pass a law stipulating all the details. It would just give them oversight over what they saw as overreach or problematic action by the regulatory agencies. Now, that may not be an ideal solution, but it's one that I could see as being very workable.
But as I understand it, I mean that's gone with this. I mean, it's basically taken away that the right of Congress to do even that. I mean, not that I think that would actually pass Congress, because I don't think the Republicans would let it go past. But as I understand this decision, it even takes it takes away the authority of Congress to say, yes, we're going to give you this authority.
I don't know that. I think that should be the subject of very detailed study, because I could easily see some kind of an oversight process, being put into place, to solve this problem.
I don't know. Anyway, that was what's been on my mind for the last couple of days.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you for enlightening me because I missed it, and yet I do read the New York Times.
Maybe Google Chevron decision, a Chevron decision or something like that.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Now let's see, is what's on anybody else's mind? I know that Lou started off with a concern about what's happening in terms of the elections, and my guess is that in the US, the reason I'm not seeing things about this Supreme Court decision is because everybody's so fixated on the debate the other day and the fallout from that. I'd like to know what anybody thinks may come of that. How many of you, if you do believe it, how many of you think that Biden will be either somehow forced, I don't think there's any way to force him to, but either persuaded or enticed to step down? And if he does, who would be the person becoming the nominee? I'd be very interested in imagining who's up for presidency of the US if that happens.
That's a subject that's been
Good
basically
question.
basically in the on the talk shows for ever since the debate. First question is, should he step down? The second is, will he step down? And the third is, if he does, what would be the mechanism for picking somebody else? If you assume that he should step down, or it's best if he steps down, the best option would be for him to simply decide he should step down, and at the convention, release all his delegates and say, you are now, you're no longer bound to vote for me, vote for whoever you want, and then they pick somebody, and that person then becomes the nominee.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do people think the odds are that he would in any way be willing to do that?
He does not seem to be. The only thing the way I could see that happening would be if between now and the convention, he suffered a major health problem, like a stroke or something like that, that convinced him that he couldn't do the job. But so far, he seems to show no inclination to step down.
Or maybe somebody will talk to him about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who, even Barack Obama had lunch with her, with the obvious purpose of trying to get her to see the wisdom, for the good of the country, of resigning, so that he could name the next Supreme Court justice instead of leaving it, to a future administration, and what terribly happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's Biden's opportunity now, is to go out as a hero.
Yeah, Obama's probably the only person that he might listen to. And Obama doesn't seem to be inclined, at least publicly so far, to urge him to resign.
Well, the big speculation in news media for the last few days has been, that the person who could best convince him to do anything is Jill Biden, and speculation as to what her position is, because her public position is total support for whatever Joe's doing.
Mhm.
And same with Obama. Yeah,
But
yeah.
but the but, yeah but the the conversations I've been seeing for the last couple of days are, who knows Jill Biden well enough to talk to her about this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I would actually love to see a poll taken in which they ask a large number of people, preferably undecided people, have a long list. Who would you vote for in this? Trump, Biden, Trump, Kamala Harris, Trump, John Inslee. Basically listing all the potential candidates and find the one that would the most people would vote for against Trump,
Mhm.
and then approach him with this and say, look, if you want to save the country, ask your delegates to vote for this guy. I mean, that's the closest I can come.
That
I
sounds
think that
perfect.
I think you're right that and this has been such a boon for the polling industry. They must be smiling all the way to the bank, because I'm sure they're all very busy doing polls right now.
Mm. Well, now who would be on that list? I mean, we know that Obama's not eligible, right?
Right. He's
So
not.
then who is eligible that has any, charisma or clout or whatever it takes?
Well,
Who,
I
if you had if you were making up the list, David, who would be on your poll?
I mean, one obvious person that should be on the list is Kamala Harris, since
Mhm.
under normal circumstances she would be the next president. I personally really like Washington State Governor Inslee, who is actually retiring now. The fact that he's retiring from the governorship when he could have won it probably indicates he has some personal reason for wanting to step down. But the governor of California, I'd want somebody with a very strong environmental stand, particularly on global warming,
Mhm.
which is why I picked Inslee. Like I said, I'm not really that much of an expert on who the choices were. There was actually, again, on the news, somebody talked about, they listed 3 people. I think they were all Democratic governors or something. But like I said, it would be a matter of picking, whoever's most eligible and would be interested in running, and just creating this list and making it a long list of 1-to-1. Who would you vote for? And then finding the one that the most people said, yes, I would vote for this person over Trump, and hopefully, getting that person to run.
Well,
There are 3
I think it's a bad sign that when we're asking ourselves who should be on the list, that I can't even think of who should be on the list. In other words, it's a bad sign that there are no superstars in the wings, waiting to come out and take hold. There's nobody. I'm a Californian transplanted to Canada, and everything I read about Gavin Newsom is good, but I wouldn't recognize that man's face if I saw it. So that's a bad sign. I like his reputation, but that's not good enough. It has to be somebody I'm in favor of. This Gretchen lady, who's also mayor, I wouldn't recognize her. I don't even know any of the people that might be on that list.
Well,
And that's a bad sign.
Considering the fact that a lot of people are basically saying they're opposed to either one of them, a complete unknown might be one of the best people to run against Trump. I mean, most of the people that are a lot of the people that are talking about voting for Trump are saying, I don't like Trump, but I'm worried about Biden's health, and I'd like to see some of the choice. And maybe if it was somebody who was a complete unknown, they might say, well, at least we don't know anything bad about him, and we do know bad things about Trump. So let's vote for whoever it is.
I would have a
Yeah,
hard
well-
time doing that, wouldn't you? If you don't know anything about the guy?
Well, I mean, personally, I think I'd vote for the Antichrist over Trump. I mean, jokingly, of course, but you understand what I'm saying. The point is that given a choice between someone that I know would be an absolute unmitigated disaster for the country, I would take a complete unknown on the basis that he can't be any worse. I mean, I literally can't think of anybody that could be worse than Trump, or maybe DeSantis.
I think once, if Biden decided to step down, there's no question that a goodly number of people would say, well, what about me? And there is talk in different parts of the country and even nationally about possibilities of people, but nobody was going to be challenging it once it was the party decided that Biden needed support. And everybody behaved appropriately. But I think with the idea that the decision would be made at the convention, there is a period of time in which possible candidates would make their name visible, and there'd be some there are different factions and they have their representatives. I think names would pretty quickly become apparent, and but the concern that is being voiced is that the party itself is very diverse, and there are different factions and the splits, and then to reconcile, to find a candidate who gets enough of the different factions and parties and elements together to get a majority vote would be perhaps too much turmoil. People are afraid, Democratic leaders are afraid of what happened in 1968, 1924. But the decision, after all, is
Wait a
going
minute,
to
what was
be made
1924? Lou,
Pardon?
what happened in 1924? My memory is not there.
Well, people are bringing it up now. There was
What was,
an issue about how much of the Klan, the white, the
Ku Klux Klan?
KKK was very strong.
And
And
who
it
was,
started division in the Democratic Party. It had Southern senators.
yeah?
It was
Mhm.
the 20s were a terrible time in the
Yeah.
United States. We kind of put it aside and nobody talks about it anymore.
Well, Adam Hochschild has a book about it. It's a wonderful book. If you can stand the
Okay.
depression of reading it, it's American Midnight or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
bad stuff.
Yeah.
We've had bad times.
Okay.
If you're interested, I just pulled up just Googled and pulled up a list of six people who might replace Biden on the ticket if he decided to drop out. Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, Sherrod Brown, he's 71 though, that's practically the same. Anyway, Dean Phillips, those are the names, and I'll admit that outside of Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom, I hadn't heard any of these either.
Mm. Okay,
Oh,
who's this Phillips guy, Dean Phillips?
Yeah, Dean Phillips.
I'm gonna have to
been-
leave.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah, go on.
Dean Phillips has been highlighted, for most of the last year by good government groups as being, a particularly strong, candidate, but he did not do well, in the last election. so his question as to whether he could command the votes. But Meta, you got two of the three people who are the most speculated about to replace Biden on the ticket. Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, and Michelle Obama.
They're mentioning Michelle Obama? Well, you
Oh,
know,
she could
I think she might have, I think she would be really good, but.
She
of
was a
course wouldn't-
constitutional lawyer.
I would love that. I would love it.
I would
Yeah.
too, but,
Yeah.
and I think people would love it,
I'm
but she
there,
won't do
yeah.
it. I don't think she would do it.
Yeah, that's an interesting, that wasn't on the list, but it's certainly an interesting possibility. I mean, she's a constitutional lawyer, so she's, very knowledgeable. And you could sort of say she has political experience. I mean, having been somewhat of a spiritual advisor to Obama all those years. So yeah, that's an interesting possibility.
Yeah.
I would love it. That'd make me so happy.
I'd vote
In the
for it.
in the last day or so, one of the comments that I read was that she would attract the women's vote, and she would attract the black vote. And
Yes.
the Democrats basically need both. The
Yeah.
other thing that I'm thinking is that if you think of the musical Evita, which was a Broadway hit,
Uh-huh.
just the music of Michelle.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Okay, that's a wonderful thought.
That's good. I
Okay,
like
let's all rally around Michelle. Maybe we can push her. That would be. I don't know. I think she actually would be very attracted. People would love her because she's very popular, isn't she?
You got
Yes.
name recognition.
Yeah.
I said she's got name recognition. Yeah. And Obama, if it wasn't for the constitutional limitations, he probably could have won a third term. So yeah, that would be
Mm-hmm.
that would be an interesting possibility. I don't know if she's interested. But,
She hated to have him even do it. She didn't like politics, but so I don't think she'd be willing. But if we make it her duty to save democracy,
Please save the country.
save the country.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, what I would try to do with her would be to have somebody influential get to her and say, yes, you need to step in and save democracy. And the way you need to do it is to go in there and be above the battle and to pick the person who will do it. And if she picks Gretchen Whitmer, I'd be very happy. Because at least that would guarantee the female vote. And Michelle Obama would be there as the endorser, as the kingmaker, the person who makes this wonderful solution that saves the country possible. I think she would go out like Biden, like a hero.
I think
Okay,
Obama.
listen. Sorry, I see that we do have a hand up. Chand has been patient. We Americans, and I'm still a U.S. citizen as well as a Canadian, but so we Americans have been monopolizing the conversation so far. Chand, India should
Yeah.
have its voice now. Speak up.
I'm not having that much of information on the election in US, but then whatever knowledge I have, I want to share my views on that. The first thing is that US year after year is getting drowned into huge debts as such. Today at a debt level of $35.4 trillion is the highest ever in the history of this world. And what they say, what I hear is that year after year, the debts are getting increased, and even to address the interest part, it's becoming so difficult, which means the principle, God knows, as long as the universe exists, they cannot address the principle. So what I want to say is it's a economical situation is deteriorating year after year at the cost of the entire world's health of economy. Okay, now given the situation when Trump was replaced by Biden, Joe Biden, it was of the opinion that the Democrats, chosen Joe Biden and Joe Biden became the president, there was certain hope, but then he messed up further and there is no any improvement. Rather, there was a lot of improvement in economic status of US. Besides that, the wars, the war expenditure, or the feeding into wars of the other places in the world, everything is in a mess. And there is also a opinion that US can get into recession after 2008. This time recession would be much more harder than 2008's recession, is what I have been hearing. And now, given the situation, Joe Biden or Trump, both are, worse than the other. Means either of the two, I think, are not going to bring any solution to the table, or rather, it will be more making the situation worse. And now I don't know. There are third party. There are 4 candidates. That is Robert Kennedy Jr., and then you have West, a professor, and then there is Stein, a lady president contestant, and then there is the 4th one, Oliver. So these are the 4 new faces, or they are also there into the issues of US who are trying to look into. So probably other than these 2, that is Joe Biden or your Trump, could be a better thing, appears like, because both of them had gone to that extent, the wear and tear had gone too low, and things are deproving and things are becoming worse, bad to worse, worse to worst. And maybe this is my opinion. As far as when it comes to the climate change and all, also there's a lot of things have to be done, particularly from US, because the US is the one which is having the highest level of carbon emissions. And still the Kyoto Protocol, where when Trump was there, then he was trying to walk out of that Kyoto Protocol because of several reasons. And I don't know how the climate change, how about the abolition of nuclear weapons, which is a big threat for the entire globe. And when it comes to the economy, how the lending and then going into loans by the loan component, whatever, where from it is coming. Tell me, when that kind of trillions of dollars, where from it is coming, who is giving? That means every country with which they have commerce and trade, they make those commerce and trade on loan basis, and then that is accumulating, including country like India, for whom they owe. For countries like Korea, Japan, China, you name the country, US owes. So at the cost of the health of entire globe, US is happily enjoying with that debt. But it is high time they should come out with certain reforms, certain things, how they can really, make these disastrous, economical buildup of negative building up is to be curtailed. They have to reduce their wastage. They have to conserve energy, conserve resources. All these things are, let me tell you, I'm only telling by looking at externally through various media and various information, where I find that the kind of wastage is huge. 40% of the GDP, whatever is generated, gets into drain, like in the food wastage, power wastage, resources wastage. All these things, when they are going to really understand that thing is to be curtailed, and they have to really become disciplined. Otherwise, whose cost? It's all getting into that kind of a disaster. And all
John,
this.
I want to ask you something, because you have your foot in the business world and economic world a little bit anyway, and I don't understand it, but I did. And anybody else can answer this if you think you know the answer, because the other day we were talking about on one of these conversations, we were talking about the geoengineering or climate repair technologies, which I think are really the only, we have to be able to do them. That's all there is to it, because it's too late to get there any other way. But I was expressing dismay because there's so much opposition to it. And the person I was speaking with lives in Europe and is very, very well established in financial industry, financial world. He has his own investment company. And he said business favors geoengineering. And when business favors it, it's going to happen. Now, I had not heard that from anybody else, and I really want to know if it's true because because I haven't heard it from anybody else. Do any of you know anything about any constellation of forces in society that might be favoring using technological changes to solve the climate problem?
I think I can answer that question. I'm kind of the climate wonk here. First of all, there's a couple of different types of the geoengineering. Some people count, drawing carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere as geoengineering. Things like adding things to the ocean that'll cause it to absorb CO2 or things like that. I don't personally consider that geoengineering because you're directly addressing the problem. Another solution that is recommended a lot is putting something into the air like sulfates that will reflect away the sunlight. That's not a good solution. There are all sorts of problems. It cools irregularly. In other words, some areas won't get cooled very much and it'll still stay hot. Other areas will be overcooled and everything. Basically, it disrupts the whole balance and everything. Plus the fact that stuff comes out and it causes like acid rain and some other things. So, but in answer to your question about the businesses, what you have, of course, is the fossil fuel industry that is just absolutely gung-ho with this because it's like, sure, let's just put something in the atmosphere to reflect away the sunlight. And of course, they love it because it does not involve cutting down on fossil fuels at all. So it's basically, you talk about the businesses liking it. The businesses that like it are the ones that, if we do that instead of trying to reduce emissions, we'll be able to continue the emissions. I don't know of any other business that is particularly big on it.
That's
World
interesting.
Economic Forum has many programs, which have many entrepreneurs developing solutions. They get highlighted. They do meetings with funders. They get them funded, and then they have conferences about the progress that's happening with them. And they're attacking many different fronts to try to do something about various environmental problems, including the global warming.
Sorry,
I watch
when you
carefully.
excuse me, John, when you're talking about the World Economic Forum, you're talking about these people in Davos, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Davos.
go on. I'm
That's
sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's okay. That's just, so I watch them carefully, on a daily basis to see
Yeah.
what they're up to.
And what is there any overall trend that you can see there that I might not have heard about?
Well, I see this as being very much in the spirit of business generally. For example, when there's a war, great, because that means there'll be reconstruction. And then they'll have to call us, and we'll make billions. So I see businesses looking at this as the next big party. Whatever solutions get adopted, they figure they're going to have to come to us. We're going to get the big contracts. We'll steamroller over everybody else, and get them, and we will make fortunes, or we will continue to make.
I can see your argument about why they would feel that way, but do you actually have? I mean, is it really obvious to anybody? If I were to read these reports that you look at every day, would I see the same thing, that business in general is in favor of geoengineering? Because I really want an answer. Is it true or isn't it true? And can we prove it? I mean, is it really objectively obvious?
Well, I think the first thing would be, maybe your definition of geoengineering, might very well be different from other people's. I think we've just heard that in the last few comments. So the first thing is, what is it that we're talking about? But doing things about climate, doing things about water use, doing things about the heating, coming from the atmosphere. There are many projects that are being funded, and where they're developing, they're scaling up. And the technical question about all of them is, well, things look interesting when they're in the idea stage, and then they get into R&D, and the closer they get to D, the more problems crop up that are more expensive to solve. And so that's why some things make it to final commercial implementation and others don't. So there's a lot of speculation about what the solutions are for these things, and I think many of them would fall under your definition of geoengineering.
Well, I would have a hard time defining geoengineering, even though, in fact, I mean, I don't want to boast, but I really know a lot about geoengineering, because that has been the main thing I've been working on for the last 2 years. Of all of the global threats, I have spent more time hosting conferences, forums where I invite people who are coming up with proposals for innovation that would repair the climate than probably anybody you've met. So I happen to, this is something I know quite a bit about, but not as a technical person. I don't understand the technical language, but I make them talk plain English. And as long as they're speaking plain English, I know what they're saying, and I know the issues, and I know what they're arguing about. So yeah, I could give you a long talk about what I think geoengineering is, but that's not the point. The point is there's a general understanding in the world about geoengineering, that it really involves technological interventions that would either cool the planet through using albedo, that is the reflectivity of solar energy, back into space, because of reflections of clouds and ice and things like that, or else it involves spraying something that would filter, well, even the SAI, even the solar spraying of sulfur into the stratosphere, that sort of probably
Spraying
But
of
also
aerosol gases. Aerosol gases spraying into the air would
Yes.
would bring those emissions lower. Aerosol gases, that's
Yeah.
what ought to be sprayed.
And the other thing, though, is the removal of carbon from the atmosphere and sequestering it in one way or another. Those are two different approaches, but there are many different technological proposals for each of them.
Right.
So let's assume that
The
that
other-
is the definition of geoengineering. How many people
One
in
more.
in the Davos group actually would favor both of those approaches?
May I
Well,
add something, Meta? I would like to add something to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you are saying that geoengineering is playing a vital role in order to see that the climate change can be arrested or can be reduced or brought to a lower level. Nothing but, in my simple terms, geoengineering is nothing but geography, which is used by engineering. Thereby, you are going to correct the earth and the soil and the material minerals. Thereby, you can see that the climate change can be reduced. Thereby, the global warming can be reduced. I say that particularly one is that the solar geoengineering methods as aerosol gases, which are being sprayed onto the air like water spray kind of a thing, where you're ultimately are trying to see that the kind of dissipation of the gases which are not necessary, that of the carbon emissions and all, which can be reduced through using of the radiation which is available. And the other one is that the minerals which we are extracting out of the Earth's crust are to be, taken in a manner, organized manner. Thereby, you are trying to reduce the extraction versus utilization of the material. This ratio, if you are trying to, reduce, that means you are if you are reducing this ratio, you're also reducing the carbon emissions. Particularly, if you see that the kind of technologies where we are using, the efficiencies are to be checked into. If the efficiencies are lower, that means you're using more material, more minerals, more resources. This is where the geoengineering plays a vital role. Thereby, you're trying to make the balance or make the equation in a more acceptable level. which will bring more efficiencies and effectiveness through making your, output higher with respect to the input. This is where the geoengineering plays a vital role. The material, the soil, the other extracted things are used in such a manner, thereby you're reducing the consumption. The main thing is that what they say is that whatever is generated, if you're wasting, the efforts to regenerate would be much higher than whatever has been generated if it has been used in a conservative manner, in a very useful manner. So this, if it is entering into the head of the developed nations, they will be doing lesser wastage, less, and then bringing more conservation instead of producing GDP. What is the use of increasing GDP when the GDP, whatever you have made, is making 40% of that is getting wasted? That means you're draining out whatever
Okay,
efforts.
John, I think you made your point. I think you
Yes.
made your point. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and we need, there are two people here who, well, actually three, that I haven't even said hello to. Sandy Greer has been sitting here
Accept
for
it or not,
an
but that
hour.
is my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to shut you off, but we have heard you. Sandy, hello, and Joan Kerr has been here a while, being patient, and now Richard Denton has just arrived. So we need to give the floor to one of these people who have something new to share with us, I'm sure, besides our concern so far
Good
about
afternoon, Richard.
and climate and the US elections. Yes, Joan, Sandy, or Richard, who wants to unburden your soul here?
Unburden. Oh, that's a good word. Hello, everyone. Hi. Thanks for including me. So I came in a bit late, but climate change is always on the top of my list from a community point of view. And I'm always fascinated when I'm on hundreds of calls where everyone's talking about framework and who should buy in, and then I always think about the consumer, the residents and the public. And my experience in having hosted over 38 events for the environment community led is that people are always saying, I know there's a problem, I just need to be told how to change and what to do. They don't care about frameworks. They don't care about stats. They don't care about government policies. Those are great. They can't relate to them. But what they can relate to are things like simply, believe it or not, turning off your lights, using bulbs that are conservation, how to conserve water. If everyone did little things and stopped driving so much and plant a
Honey,
tree,
Dear
you know,
friend, I love you dearly, but it's not true. If everybody did all of those little things, it's not enough. I'm sorry.
it's
Game
not,
over.
but
It has not for the last, if you did it 20 years ago, it might have worked. Now, everybody who knows anything about the reality of global warming will have to tell you the truth. It's too late to do anything just by reducing carbon. Sorry. We have
no,
to do more.
I'm not saying that's the only thing to do. I'm saying it's a start where the majority of people are contributing to climate change. That's all I'm saying.
Even
So
if
things
if
like
we did,
no,
even if every one of us did our level best, it's too late to do it the way people are saying to do it. We've got to do more.
what I'm saying is that it's not one or the other. Well, I'm saying that usually when we have conversations, the people are opinion are not considered. It's always about what business wants, what technology does, how can we do all this kind of stuff. And what I'm saying is that if consumers are hands are held, it's a start where we can help because
Okay, look, here's a start. If you stop buying SUVs and if
Right.
you don't go on cruises, you're
exactly.
So how
That's
many
right.
people do you know who go buy a new car and you tell them just don't buy an SUV? It's irresponsible and immoral nowadays.
I don't tell them that. What I say is
I tell
what are
my
ways
friends
that
don't go on a cruise. You don't have
Right.
any business wasting our resources that way. Now,
So what I
that's the
do,
kind of thing
yeah.
you want us to be able to do, to say to each other, stop doing what you're doing and do it this easier way. I
But
don't
what
know
what I'm trying
anybody
to
who's
say,
willing to
what
do
I'm trying
that.
to say, yeah, what I'm trying to say, Meta, is that it's like getting the green box to the blue box to the curb. It took 10 years of promotion for people to do that. Consumer education. Instead of saying to people, and this is what environmentalists do, they tell them, oh, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and people get scared and they're like, oh, okay. But they can't think about how they can, little things that they can do. So regarding this SUV, for example, people are not going to stop buying them. So it's up to the manufacturers to make them more efficient. But you can tell people, how about little things like, instead of driving your SUV to the grocery store on a whim, plan your trips. Use a bicycle. We do that. Plan your trips to go to 3 places rather than 3 separate things. Like, there are things you can do that will help. Like, it's like, say, little actions, big impact. That's all I'm saying.
But little actions don't have enough impact, dear. Sorry.
Yeah, I
Too late.
agree with Meta on this. I mean, the average person can, if they really tried, maybe cut their emissions 10% at most or something. I've got 20 solar panels, a solar water heater, an electric car, and a whole bunch of stuff. And I still can't, cut my emissions to zero or something. We need to cut our emissions by 50% in the next few years, and 100% in what, 20 years or
What
something.
I don't, David.
Yeah.
If people go around turning out the light bulbs and taking the bike to the grocery store, and then they fly to around the world
Yeah.
for a vacation, sorry, but that's just absolutely wrong-headed. One flight is using up all of the savings you could make in a lifetime.
Yeah, I agree. My point was the idea that everybody can make a difference by changing a few light bulbs or something like that. If everybody,
That was just an example. I'm saying that everyone can make a difference if they have actions. What has not happened is that, and I mean, I was on a call the other day where there was the ITU, the UN, 5 big entities, and they were saying, we're spending so much time doing policy work and creating these big projects, and it's not getting through to people. What we need to do is look at the problem. What needs to be done? What are the acts that can happen? And those are actually working. So I don't know. It's like growing your own food. I mean, instead of food coming 15,000 miles for you to buy, people can grow some of their own food, not all of it. There is a role. I guess what I'm saying is that academia and business and government have these big numbers and percentages and all of that. When it's like doing housework, people always say to me, how come your house is always clean? I said, I always do something every day. That's a big thing. Like, so it doesn't become a big, like cleaning out your closet and become a 1-year thing. It's like I do it every month. So it's not a big deal. And so I don't get stressed out. I just think that everyone has a role to play, and all acts contribute to the reduction. That's all I'm saying. It's not the one or the other.
I think the significance of those acts goes way beyond what you're saying. That anybody whose consciousness is raised to take actions like that is then a prime prospect to receive additional messages about what policies they can support that are beyond their individual reach. And so the problem there is, first, for the people who are developing those policies to come to some agreement as to what actually works and what actually makes sense to do, what is actually not wasting resources in the doing, and then how to message all that, so that people whose consciousness has been raised, can say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I support that. And then they can urge legislators, to do it and elect people to do it. And they can vote with their dollars every time they go buy something. or refrain from buying something.
So you can start somewhere is what I'm saying, and then scale up.
All right, thank you. All right, and I see we now have Peter Bottoms with us. And bless your heart, how are you in England or are you in Italy now, Peter? You need to unmute yourself.
I'm in England, but I've been ill. In fact, I had a stroke, so that's why you haven't heard from me for a little while. And I'm sort of getting over it. I was just in hospital until yesterday.
Hold on. When did this happen? In England just now?
In England, but in about 2 days ago. 3 days ago. So it's a stroke. So my hand has stopped working, which is quite awkward because I can't write or anything like that. And so I'm trying to see how I can get that fixed. But it's not at the moment. I'm not functional.
Well, you look gorgeous. I don't know. You look fine. So I'm shocked and horrified. What do the doctors tell you to expect?
Well, they haven't told me. They've given me various treatments and so on, and they expect it will just sort of get better, but physiotherapy and so on. But at the moment I can't write intelligibly. I mean, I always had a problem with my handwriting, but now it's a dire problem. So I can't write, and I'm therefore, and I can't the various things other things I can't do properly. Like
well, what I was wondering, you go off on these big expeditions to climb around on glaciers in Greenland and things like that. Do you have any plans to do any more of that kind of thing, or are you going to let young kids go do that for you nowadays?
I would like to do. In fact, what prompted this thing, as far as I know, is that I was having a kind of celebration of the first hydrogen-driven car. So I've belonged for a while to an organisation which does races in extreme environments. So they'll do a race in Senegal or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Greenland is the classic place. And then doing the racing there, you also do work on legacy projects. That is energy. It's trying to get at do good things whilst at the same time having the sort of joy of racing, which of course gives a lot of people joy, but most publicity basically. So it's I think a very nice idea. It's called Extreme E, and it's spread worldwide.
Were you going to go off to one of those races, or what was the game?
Yes, I've been on a number of them. That's to Sardinia, the nearest ones. We sort of, we're in the science committee, and I'm the chairman of the science committee, and we go and allocate people to do things, and so I've been working mainly in Sardinia, and where there's wildfires going on, and also in Greenland on the Greenland ice cap. So it's been
have you been going to those places, or are you just
yes? No, I've been going to them. Okay. So it's a kind of a busy thing to do, and it has worked well. Let me
ask you something a little bit off topic, but not quite. You mentioned the hydrogen engines and hydrogen use. I've been trying time after time to get a forum set up with Barbara Sherwood Lolar, whom you put me in
Yes.
touch with. A
Yes.
very wonderful person, but she's had all kinds of family health issues. Her mother died, her aunt died, her husband got sick, and now her husband got sick again. Every time we've booked a conversation, she's had to cancel it. So I'll go after her again. But the main thing is, when I asked her what she wanted to talk about, I should tell people that she is a prominent geologist at the University of Toronto, very eminent researcher. And she wants to talk on this, on her forum about what she calls natural hydrogen. She apparently, now I know almost nothing about this, but I've sort of picked up a little bit, and maybe you can fill me in or us in, because I think it's worth finding out a little bit. As I understand it, she believes, and there is evidence that there are seams of hydrogen in the Earth's crust, and that if you know where to look, and she's out looking, you can mine it or pipe it out, get it out, and use it for fuel in good quantities, a large enough amount to really be helpful with the global warming. Now, that's everything I know about the subject. Can you amplify it a little bit, Peter, and tell me what else we need to know before we get hold of Barbara to talk about it?
Well, I think Barbara might be onto something important there. The conventional methods are artificial
Yes.
for producing hydrogen, and hydrogen is it's a very dodgy material, as you know from air crashes. And I've personally, I've been working with electric cars all the time. I've been with this outfit, and suddenly they decided they wanted to go for hydrogen. So instead of extreme E, which is extreme electrical, it's now extreme H. In fact, as of last week, there was a big celebration that we in London, that we had become extreme H. So that was held in the Pool of London alongside the ship, and that's when my hand stopped working. So I don't know what link there is there, but the principle is that if you have to use high pressure hydrogen in a, and you can it in theory, of course, it's better than electrical, because there's no the only waste is water.
Right.
And so in theory it's good. In practice, the energy needed to produce the hydrogen in the first place, and then release it in a electrical system, is such that it's a kind of wasteful system. But people want to use it because of its being a hydrogen fossil fuel free. So if Barbara is, and there are ways of getting at this hydrogen fuel that are not where you're basically activating veins of liquid of gaseous nitrogen, and so in principle it could be a valuable way of operating, and in fact, of course, gas like that is used in fuel. Especially, it seems to be that fuel from high level power, sort of vehicles heavy load vehicles,
Or like buses.
Like trucks and,
trucks and so on. Yeah, they seem to benefit to be efficient
Mhm.
in this context. So we're looking at the moment, of course, the idea is simply do some racing with this thing, and they are not. I'm not sure whether the concept is a good one, but it seems to be that if you do racing with a system that's then it's attractive because people like things that crash into one another and so on.
but that
And-
would be the worst kind to use. Because if you crash into something that's compressed and very flammable explosive, that's exactly what you don't want to do.
Well, I'm not sure whether that point has been grasped properly.
Okay, well, thank you for this. And I'm still going to be pursuing Barbara.
Anyway, I'll be hopefully with you.
Okay,
Long.
all right. And you're going to be attending the board meeting in a week or so.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
All right, thank you. Now sit there and take good care of yourself, so we don't have to worry about you. Okay, you're looking good anyway.
Yes.
Done wonders for you.
I
Here
feel
comes
good. Except for my hand, I feel good.
Yeah. All right. Good. Okay. Here comes Alexei Prokorenko, our Russian friend who's living in Warsaw now. Haven't seen Alexei for a little while, and I'm very keen to see you, Alexei. Hello. How are you?
Hello, I'm here.
Good.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I mean,
What's up? What's
happy-
going on? Are you in Warsaw? And what are you doing there? And what do you think about the state of the world?
well, I'm still in Warsaw, and it's pretty hot here, so I'm trying to really hide myself from the heat.
Mhm.
But on a serious note, I've been following the debate in the U.S. presidential elections pretty actively, so I listened to the debates themselves and to the analysis, to a couple of analysis, and that makes me a little bit worried.
You bet. We've already had about an hour long
sure.
conversation about it, but you
Uh,
weren't here, so you can chime in with your own opinion. Same with Peter, and Peter came in late. So any latecomers have an opportunity to add your thoughts on the current state of U.S. politics.
Well,
And
we'll have a general election in Britain in 3 days'
Yeah.
time, and that means that the present collection of villains and wastrels is going to be swept away to be replaced by a new collection of villains and wastrels. So the system is going to change quite
But
radically.
yes, but frankly, I think for the better, isn't it? I mean,
Oh,
this guy
yes,
Keir, you pronounce his name Keir
There's a
Starmer or
distinct
something.
danger that things might improve, and
Yeah.
as long as we still have Brexit, they can't improve that much, of course.
Okay, so what is your Alexei? You have a thought about, no doubt. One of the things we did a little while ago is David here is a newcomer to our conversation today, and he just found a list of 6 people that somebody has named as the likely candidates to succeed Biden, which nobody expects to happen, but if he should happen to be willing to step aside, who might be a good candidate. So before you look at the list, don't cheat by looking, and we won't tell you. Tell me, who would you like to see be his successor?
Frankly speaking, I would probably be happy if Barack Obama, but he doesn't qualify because he has already served 2 terms, and this kind of disqualifies him from running for president.
Yeah. But you're getting warm. You're getting warm. Look around his kitchen, and there might be another person that other people would rally behind.
Hmm.
It's
Maybe it's Hillary Clinton.
his wife.
We all, when somebody said her name, everybody almost went, "Yay! We want Michelle Obama." Hello, Charles. Okay.
It's either Hillary Clinton or it can be Kamala Harris, but I hear she's not popular right now, unfortunately.
Oh.
Unfortunately, I don't know why.
Okay.
Because it would be a good choice, and what makes me especially worried is the fact that substance-wise, Joe Biden was okay. He was very strong, but people will look. So we live in a world where people don't look at the substance. They don't go deep. They look at the appearance, at the show off that probably Donald Trump is. Very apt at producing. He gives an impression of a strong man, so people will buy into it, unfortunately. But substance-wise, I'm with Joe Biden.
Well, yeah, okay. We clearly we wish his policies, we consider his policies over the past to be good, but is he capable now? I don't know. I should shut up and let Peter and Charles, who's just arrived, speak up.
Well, another big definite, a big negative on Biden was his behavior with Palestine. And that was absolutely disgusting, and lots of people, especially younger people, are thinking, why am I supporting genocide? What idiocy is this? And so he lost a lot of support from that, and I'm not sure he's got it back.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Charles Tauber has everything in Vukovar, and what is your opinion on the state of the U.S. elections?
With regard to the U.S. elections, it's pretty awful. Everything is pretty awful, as far as I'm concerned. With Vukovar, yeah, what can I say? We had a visitor today. I'm trying to stay alive because we're having financial problems. It's very important that we do stay alive. Also for me, obviously. So, and my computer is not doing terribly well, which is why I'm so late. So, yeah.
You're using your cell phone, right?
I'm using my cell phone.
All right.
Well, I don't like it terribly much, but okay. And the computer I need for other things, obviously. But it was
You're talking about your financial problems, and I think we're very willing to listen, and we really wish we could help, but I don't see any help coming from here. We just don't have anything to give you.
No, what I'm saying, what I'm asking is if anybody knows any funders to give us the names and we can apply.
Funders for what?
Sorry?
Funders for what?
Funders for mental health in conflict areas.
Charles is a psychiatrist working with people suffering from after effects of war trauma.
Do you know Barbara Leger?
No, I don't.
Yeah, okay, because she's the person I know best, and in constant meetings with, who's working on something that's at least tangent to that, if not focused on it.
Well, she attended one of our meetings rather recently. I might be able to, I don't know whether I have her phone number or email, but maybe if I'll look if you want me to.
I would like it. I mean, we're in a fair bit of trouble. And with a computer doing what it's doing, it becomes a problem. So we have to get 2 new computers,
Mhm.
and we don't really have the money for it. So I don't know what to say.
I'll look up her, but thank you very much for that suggestion, John. I will try to find her email and send it to Charles. Yeah, with our good wishes. I certainly like
Thank
to.
you very much.
Mhm.
And I mean, the other thing is the migrant thing here in Europe. And
Mhm.
I know I mention it every time. It's a real problem.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And I mean, nobody wants migrants. There are all kinds of things. It's like in the US. And it's pretty awful. So, yeah, what can I say?
Thank you. Well, we send our good wishes.
Thank
Sandy,
you.
Sandy, you haven't
Barbara,
had, sorry.
Barbara's email address is Barbara Golden Path of Peace at sonic.net. Barbara Golden Path of Peace at sonic.net.
Wait a minute, let me write that down.
Maybe you can put it in the chat and he can get it that way, okay? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I can get the chat on the phone. I've never used the phone before.
Mhm. Well, okay. If you put it in the chat, I'll send it to him in case he doesn't get it, okay?
Okay, will do.
Okay, let's go off to Richard Denton in Sudbury and find out how things are a few hundred miles north of here. Richard, unmute yourself and tell us whatever.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Meta.
Mhm.
I would agree with both you and wherever she was talking about the climate. I agree with you, Phyllis, or Meta, that it's too late for individuals to make a significant contribution. But I agree with her that we need to involve people, give them something to do, and therefore doing that is helpful. But I agree that we need to do things on a much larger scale. And my big thing is to work on the military, because the military is a very large contributor to greenhouse gases. It's a great user of fossil fuels, and it's not on anybody's radar. And it's receiving billions of dollars worldwide, and that could certainly be diverted to addressing the climate. So I think that is one area. I know you're in favor of geoengineering, Meta, and that may have some promise. The problem is that when we start doing that, we don't know the full consequences. And I'm always a bit worried about what seems to be good on paper turns out not to be good in practice. So that is a concern. But I think addressing the military, it's destroying the environment in Ukraine, Gaza, and elsewhere. It's contributing to the wars are contributing tremendously to the greenhouse gases, as well as killing people. So that's where I would be addressing things.
Thank you. Okay, Peter, you have a stake in some of these conversations. Do you have anything you want to rejoinder you want to pass on?
Sorry, is this me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think the problem this problem with Palestine is something that's always seems to be it seems to be the gigantic problem of the world, and yet it's fading, being allowed to fade away as if it were not important. But in fact, it's the thing that is killing more people than anything else in the world. And besides which, it's also the most evil action that a country is getting away with in broad daylight with nothing being done. And I can't understand how the world can do this and can get away with this crime. And it's something that is so awful. And given that the things that the criminal activities that you see happening are actually kind of so vile that they resembled the Nazis. And why? First of all, why is that happening? And secondly, what on earth can we do about it when we're supposed to be a world of intelligent and reasonable people? So I'm flabbergasted all the time at the awfulness of the human race, as shown by its behaviour over Gaza. And I don't see a way in which anybody is making the slightest effort to do anything about it. And that sort of comes into the question of what do we do about our wonderful presidential candidate who is vigorously trying to kill people. It's madness. So that's I guess what I think at the moment.
I have to agree with you, actually, pretty close. Okay, now everybody's spoken practically except Sandy. I don't think you've said a word.
My turn now.
Have a word.
Well, yes, I'd like to welcome David, and because you know what I appreciate about this group is that well, there's a number of things, but it brings people together from different parts of the world for us to express our concerns and share some of our knowledge and experience, and really find what we hold in common as a human family, which I think is so extremely needed right now for the healing of the human family, because there's so much divisiveness in so many places, and it's quite horrible in North America, both in the United States and Canada, where I'm based. I've lived all my life in Ontario, Canada. So it's really a wonderful opportunity to come together and put our hearts and minds together to communicate about the concerns that we have, which are often multiple and they're all interwoven. And also, when we can, to offer possibilities of, you know, what we can do about it, and to really, you know, have hope in what is possible, because it's so easy just to give up and to point fingers at everybody else. But really, you know, continuing from what Richard was saying, and I apologize, I just had to leave the room for about 5 minutes, so I missed some of it. But I really agree that that we need to, and I agreed with Joan, what she was trying to say is that, you know, individuals need to be more inspired to engage more proactively, or we're really in trouble. For example, I go to a number of you know, webinars by different groups, and so I was at a monthly meeting of the Canadian Environmental Law Association, which invites citizens to speak about issues around water. So a few days ago, one of the big points that came out by a number of different people involved with different environmental organizations in Ontario, one of the big challenges is how to get more public engagement and how to get more public support. So this is a huge issue about how to have people become more actively involved. And so I look back at all of the training and studies I did in psychology, and I think one of the global challenges right now is psychological numbness, because there is so much going on that is so negative, and people feel overwhelmed and disempowered and are made to feel like there's nothing they can do, when really, like, so one of our tasks individually and collectively by those of us that are proactive and who speak out and try to generate some movement forward, like how do we try to help people understand that we have a lot more power as human beings than we think we do, and we don't have to just submit to government or industry and on. We need to speak out, because if we want.
Okay, listen, Sandy, I hear what you're saying, and in fact, I think there's we are speaking out, we're speaking to each other, but maybe all of us need to do more in terms of some other activism that's going to have other impact other than just talking to each other. Now, I want to ask if people want something more than that, because it happened that this week I had a conversation with a woman in India who publishes articles and is quite an expert on nuclear weapons and missiles and the delivery systems and all of the nuclear weaponry establishment globally, but I guess especially in Asia, because she, of course, living in India and knowing about Pakistan and China and so on, she has to be aware of those things. She wants to become a fellow of Project Save the World. And I said, well, what do you want to do that would make you, that would give you such a title? I said, we need various things to happen. We need various committees to do projects for the functioning of Project Save the World, including especially fundraising, but other things. What would you like to do that would be a committee chairperson? Maybe that would make sense to make you a fellow if you chaired a committee. She said, yes, I want to chair a committee on nuclear weapons. Well, Canada has a lot of people, a very outstanding group of people who do work on nuclear weapons, but we do it pretty much as a Canadian community. Most of the people are, for example, with project, with either projects Plowshares or with the Canadian Pugwash group, or maybe the group of 78, or there are a number of other groups but they're all the same people. If you belong to one group, you're probably going to belong to all of them. The same group of people, like 15 or 20 serious-minded people working on global warming and on nuclear issues. So, but we don't have anybody globally. Project Save the World could have a committee that would try to reach beyond Canada and recruit people who are interested in, let's say, nuclear war and weaponry, wherever they may be in the world, and in a way work on a committee that is not just Canadian. So I thought, I was hoping she would show up today, but it being nighttime in India, Chand always rouses himself up and comes and join us anyway. I suppose he sets the alarm, but at any rate,
it's
yes.
just about 1:20 a.m. I think in the next 10 minutes we are going to close, so I'll be staying till the end of the meeting, and then 1:30 a.m.
Well, now I don't know whether this woman has called you, but I told her to get in touch with you and Jill Carr Harris in India, and then we can talk about people who are interested in other countries as well. But I thought I would just fly it past you folks and see if any of you like the idea of having committees, and it could be this one, or it could be a committee on some other issue, global warming, or who knows what, that would be chaired by a member, and would have members that go beyond the Canadian community. Is there, and that means that, are any of you guys interested in participating in some kind of committee? We only have 10 minutes or so to finish this off, but I'd like your answer to that question.
I think that is a discussion to continue into the next global meeting we have, like next month, maybe, Meta. Like, great, but I'd like to continue explaining, what I'm contending with right now, to be honest. And I think the reality is that those of us who are here, and some other people who maybe are busy with their families this weekend and so on, are already so busy. Like, I'm actually experiencing severe burnout, and I'm trying to help a few local groups, and there's only a certain number of us, and we all have either, working with farmers who are working dawn to dusk, or with people who have, family health issues, and on and on. And like, people can only do so much. So I think like formulating committees, like for me personally, I would have to back off and not even think about it, because I'm worried about what's happening on the ground in my region, and trying to mobilize local people to wake up and be concerned about the deep burial of nuclear waste, which in an experimental project that doesn't exist anywhere in the world. I mean, there are no operating deep geological repositories for high level radioactive waste anywhere in the world, but the Canadian government at all levels, and provincial and municipal, are just pushing and pushing, and undermining participatory democracy. So I really empathize with what's going on in the United States, but something similar here in Canada, David, is happening, but of like just people's voices being silenced or marginalized, and people making decisions, and the public has no say about it. And so this is not just happening in the United States, it's also happening in Canada. And I could mention a few examples, but I just want to mention one positive thing that has happened in the last couple of weeks before if I'm allowed to sort of also point out a couple of other things that I wanted to make people aware of. But one positive thing that's happened, thanks to an American congressman, is that Dan Kildee, who is the Democratic congressperson in Michigan, he made a motion in American Congress on June 14th, which actually the Congress agreed to. And he made this motion as a bipartisan motion, which all Democratic and Republican congressmen around the Great Lakes Basin all agreed to. So this is so wonderful and beautiful in such a divisive time, in terms of the divisive politics in the United States, right? That the Republicans and Democrats came together to ultimately, I'm just going to read the like what the Congress agreed to on June 14. It is the sense of Congress, the government of the United States, and the government of Canada should not develop storage facilities for the permanent storage of spent nuclear fuel, low-level or high-level nuclear waste, or military-grade nuclear material within the Great Lakes Basin. So this is extraordinary, but here's the thing: how to convince the Canadian government to stop their stupidity in pushing this forward. And so that's what I'm trying to fight against with other people, because it's just horrible what is happening. And now I've got to mention something that is a concern, and it relates to indirectly to what David and John were mentioning about the Supreme Court in the United States. Well, I'm not talking about the Supreme Court of Canada, but there is, shoot, I've just got to find the piece of paper. But it's, oh, here we are. It's just an initiative that is being taken by the Canadian federal government. And this impacts on all types of environmental, the deterioration of environmental protections, both at the federal and the provincial levels, is that they've got this document online now called Building Canada's Clean Future. Clean, including nuclear as clean and safe, which it is not, but that's another story. So anyway, a plan to modernize federal assessment and permitting processes to get clean growth projects built faster. But basically what is between the lines, and I read the whole document, is that it's going to even deteriorate further any public participation in any of the decisions made about these new projects, all types of industrial projects, and just shorten the time, like shorten all of the existing environmental assessment processes that exist, but to shorten them and speed everything along with no concern about what is going to happen to the environment, and minimizing time for environmental organizations and for individual citizens who have the brains to do, research to present why these things are dangerous, like to shorten that and disregard it. I mean, it's just, what is happening to the intelligence level of politicians and people in industries? It just blows me away. So it makes me crazy. So, like, how
Excuse me, may
what,
I say two things before I see the time? And I just want to say that I would be willing to sit or chair even a committee on the influence of trauma on peace,
Great.
on psychological factors on peace.
Great.
Thank you.
So,
Mhm.
yeah. And if people are interested in that, please contact me.
I could do a mail out to all the members. We have such a thing. There is such an organization now, the members of Project Save the World. We have about 100 or something like that. And I could say, how many of you would like to be on a committee? And if so, which of the following? Now, I hadn't even thought of putting on psychological issues, but there's no reason we can't. But we have 6 global issues, famine, cyber, etc. And so I would have immediately thought of putting on a question, do we want to have committees working on that, headed by members of Project Save the World? If you're interested, let me know. Or we could do what do you call those surveys? What do you do? Some kind of monkey survey. What is that I'm thinking of?
Survey Monkey.
Survey Monkey. Yeah. We could even do a survey like that and send it out to a larger number of people than simply members of Project Save the World, but all the people on our mailing list, which is thousands, really. How many people want to be involved in a committee?
Great idea.
Do you think so?
Yeah, great idea. Do something quickly, to elicit interest. What I would see as a major value of this is that it will highlight what people who are paying attention are interested in, and it will be a way, to find allies and potential partners. That's huge. Like, for example, this whole discussion today about nuclear issues. Rotarians for a world free of nuclear weapons, which I'm on along with Chan and
Richard. I think Richard.
Richard, yeah, and Sandy, do you know David Newman? Because when you started talking, you sounded just like David Newman, talking about the welfare of the whole human family. And he's in Winnipeg, and he's extremely vocal on all these things. and knows so many people, who could be helpful, which is why I think in terms of allies and partners. And so this is a great idea because it's a way, that it can set up a structure, to make it possible for people that are collaborating with an organization instead of just another individual who happens to be, interested in that subject, which is, I think, exactly your point. Thank you.
Well,
I think
thank
it's a good idea.
to clarify, I totally go with what John is suggesting, because that's the thing, like, how do we actually broaden the net of awareness? And if committees would be a way to like discuss together how to create partnerships and on to broaden and raise awareness among the wider public, I'm all for that. And then I would be on a committee, but okay.
Well,
I
there'll
love
if
Great
there'll be a
idea.
list of, I'll list some, and then people could add lists, but certainly one of them would be nuclear or radioactive risks, radioactive contamination, that sort of thing. So that would be your bag, I think. So look, I can do that. Now, all of you, if you, for example, you just mentioned somebody who is not on my David Newman. I think I interviewed him once a long time ago. I don't think I have him on our list. So if any of you have names of people who should be included in this survey, send them to me with their email address. Put it in the chat, and I will, if you can do that, put it in the chat and I'll take it down and put it on my list so that I'll include it in whatever we send out. And then next time we get together, I'll let you know what people think. Okay?
I love it. It's a great idea.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it's come to the fore. And I want to also encourage those of you who haven't taken a look at our Udemy course to please go have a look at it. And if you feel the slightest inclination to enroll, please do so. It costs you nothing. And you can just use it to look around and watch some of these condensations of longer episodes in which we discuss mostly carbon sequestration in soil amendments. We're using soil amendments, things like rock dust and so on. So please have a look if you might have any interest in enrolling that course. Even if you just enroll and don't do anything, it looks good for us because I'm now writing an application for charitable status. And I need to be able to show that we are producing material that is actually being used in an educational institution. And Udemy is one of those places. So if we have a large enrollment of people in the course, it'll look better on our application. So you'd be helpful that way. And you might even enjoy it because I think these are rather interesting little condensations of clips from these different shows. So have a look. Oh, and our new issue of Peace Magazine is just out. I can't put it into the chat. I might be able to, yes, I might be able to put it in the chat. Let me see, because I believe, oh, excuse me, I should have thought this in advance, but I believe I have following link. I'm going to do something and I hope it works. I think this is the link to the magazine and you can download it for free and send it to all of your friends. Now let's see if I can do this. Chat, and I'm going to type it in here. The July issue of Peace Magazine is here. Now, all right. I said the Joy issue. I'm sorry, it's typo, but you please understand. I mean, the July issue of Peace Magazine is that. So if you can capture that and click on it, you can download the entire new issue of Peace Magazine, which I hope you will read and enjoy and share with all your friends. Okay?
Roger, you're sending it by email too, right?
Yep, there.
Well, I'm sending them if you're on our mailing list, but you know,
I think I am.
well, good, then you'll get it. But if you don't get it, this is one way to get it. And you can share it with anybody else you want, okay?
Okay, because it's on my phone, I won't get it this way.
All
So,
right, good. Well, bless you all. It's been kind of I wouldn't say this has been a smooth conversation. We're all feeling the tensions, aren't we? We're all feeling
Yes.
defeated to some extent that things are definitely not going well. There's a lot of things we haven't done right. And I don't know. Can we turn it around? I don't know. Well, God bless you all.
Yes, because desperation is a great motivator, and a
That
lot
is.
of people are getting desperate. So the time is right to get a message out to them that they can respond to. So the trick is, what do we believe is the right thing to do, and then how to create the message that will get through and stimulate their desperation to say, we got to do something. This sounds good. Let's go. Trump is a master at this.
Yeah, that's right. And we don't have any other minute masters doing it. Okay, well, we're over time, but it's been good to see you guys again. I look forward to it every month, and I feel like you're my buddies. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in a month. Okay.
I don't know how I got
Great.
on. You can add me to your mailing list.
Put your name on the mailing list, and I'll definitely include you, David. Thank you for.
I chatted you my email address.
All right. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to meet you.
Anything,
all
anything you want
good
to,
wishes. Huh?
yeah, anything you want sent out to my email distribution list, Meta, just send it to me or anybody else also.
I'll tell you what, you take down that link to the show, the magazine, and you take that and you mail it to everybody you want, because we're glad to have it distributed. Okay. All right. Thank you. And we'll see you all
Thank you.
next time.